The difference between being aboard ship and on land is you can't hide aboard ship. You can't go in a foxhole. There's nowhere to hide. That's why when a ship gets hit, all those that on the deck, that's why there's so many killed and so forth. Like when a suicide plane hits a aircraft carrier or a battleship or something like that, there's so many killed. You're talking 200 killed, 300 killed, so many wounded and that because they're all on the deck, okay? Different guns, different stations. It's not like being on land. It's a miracle that America even survived. I'll tell you why. Because you're fighting two different wars with the same Navy, the same Marines, the same soldiers, okay? And you're fighting two different continents, okay? You're fighting the Pacific and you're fighting the Europeans, and it's a wonder that we ever came out of it. My name is James Schroeder. I was born in Detroit, Michigan on November 1st, 1923. I'm now 94 years old. I was 19 on November 1st, and I was in the Navy on November 4th, 1942. It was before the 18 and 19-year-olds were drafted. My dad was hesitant, like I had a report on November 4th in the morning, and he signed it the evening of November 3rd. But he had almost a whole month to sign the papers, and he wouldn't sign them. He was thinking about it and that. But like I said, he was in the military himself when he was a kid. He ran away from home and joined the U.S. Cavalry. He was stationed in the Dakotas, North and South Dakota. So he knew what the military was. He told me, he says, everybody doesn't go to the front lines. He says, there's usually 10 to 1. In other words, there's 10 soldiers or sailors or that supply that one guy out there, okay? And he said, you might be the son of a bee that'll be out there, you never know. And I happen to be. In that age, we were all patriotic. We heard and saw so much on Path News and the movies and that. And we read in the newspaper about all these ships going down the Coral Sea and elsewhere. And I just felt like I wanted to do my part. Don't ask me. I can't explain to you. It was just something. And it wasn't just me. A lot of young fellows did the same thing. It was between two, the Navy or the Marine Corps. And my mind more or less pulled me more towards the Navy than it did the Marine Corps. And I just went into the Navy, that's all. But mostly because of their losses at the time and so forth, okay? The only thing I heard about the Marines was Guadalcanal. I mean, that we all knew about Guadalcanal and how tough the Marines had it on Guadalcanal. But at the same time, the Navy took such great losses at Pearl Harbor, they didn't have much of a fleet left. And Japs was very vicious. Oh man, the Japs. That's another reason why a lot of us young ones want to go in. When we were going in high school, like I said, I was in 12th grade, and you'd go to the theater, they'd have what they called the Path News at the time, and it would show some of them, and they were wicked. And then you heard about Bataan, the march, and that, how our troops were killed going there. If they couldn't walk anymore or that, or if they fell down, they'd shoot them for God's sake and that. We knew all that, how they were. To this day, I mean, if you talk to somebody like myself that was in World War II in the Pacific, you talk to a Marine, especially, or that, he'll tell you there's only one good Jap, and that's a dead Jap. we were hit by suicide plane at Oklahoma near the end of the war. That was in, let me think. Well, that was in, we got hit April 29th, 1945. See, I remember that date. I had to think, but I remember it. April 29th. You never forget that, okay? And we had, say 20 killed and 40 some wounded. And what happened is, we wouldn't have been hit, but we were on picket duty. And what picket duty was, is they put destroyers ahead of the fleet. And the idea was, when the suicide planes came, it was our job to, they would start to attack us first, but we tried to shoot down as many as we could before they got to the fleet. And it also gave time for the planes to come out and try to knock them out. And we were on suicide patrol, like what we called it, picket duty. And two Jap planes, one came to our starboard side about midship, was hunting us, and the other one was coming at us from the fantail. And we hit the one coming in on our starboard side. It was, you know, it went into the water, but it skipped. Went like this, like when you throw a stone, it skipped like that and came and hit us below decks, and it had a 500-pound bomb on, and the bomb exploded inside underneath. And most of them that was killed was in the engine rooms or the fire rooms, okay? And we had, I think in the gunner's mates, I think one was only killed, and I forget how many was wounded, because when it hits, it explodes, there's shrapnel and everything all over, okay? And it goes all over. You could be, from here to our ship was 376 feet long. You could be 30 feet away, 40 feet away or so, and you're still might get shrapnel. And that put us out. That killed us right there. We didn't have any power, we couldn't move. And then this cruiser came alongside and gave us pumps, but we fired all our torpedo tubes, threw all our ammunition overboard. The crew got together and passed it out. And the repair party was taking mattresses and everything they could to try to stop the water, which they couldn't do because the hole was 18 by 20 feet. In other words, a locomotive could have went through it, okay? That's how big the hole was. And we almost sank. When we got discharged, a doctor told us that what's going to happen to us, he says, you're going to remember a lot of things, he says, but he says the intensity of them will lessen as years go by, and it's true. When I remember them, I can remember a lot of things like you notice that went on, and sometimes I dream about things, okay, but that's more of the action part, the bad part of it. I'm just telling you where I was and so forth. But most World War II veterans don't talk about their service. And I think most men that's been in action don't talk about it. Like I said, I'd rather not see any young man ever go to war. It's not pleasant.